Of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. What a pleasure it is to have you in the booth with us once more. My name's Riley, joined by the hungry man himself, Paul Cheon. And Paul, we've got a barnstormer down in the feature match area, don't we? We've got the popular streamer Amaz, Jason Chan. He's been getting up and about today, and he's up against Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, the control master. No surprises when you find out what he's playing. So let's head down to the feature match area right now and get amongst it here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. Hello, my friends, and welcome to live coverage of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. What a pleasure it is to have you with us in the booth. My name's Riley Knight, and I'm joined by Paul Cheon. Paul, great to have you along today. We're going to check in with our feature matches, and we're starting off, and I tell you what, we're starting off on a absolute red-hot match here between two guys that will be popular across the world. You can see on your screen here, Jason Chan, very, very popular streamer here. A man after your own heart, Paul Cheon. He's had a lot of success on Twitch.
Yeah, and you know, it's great to see. You know, he got the special invite, and he's making the most of it. He's currently 7-3-1.
He's crushing it, absolutely. Another man who's doing pretty well for himself. You're going to see him right now. It's Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, this guy known for his mastery of control decks, Paul Cheon, and no surprises when we have a look at what he's brought to bear.
Oh yeah, guess what? Guillaume Wafo-Tapa playing a blue control deck. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first kind of got into the competitive circuit, he was one of the players that I looked up to. Being a control player myself, I would always just kind of check to see what Guillaume would play. And I actually won my kind of first regionals, qualified for nationals, by playing a Guillaume Wafo-Tapa control deck.
Just the old black keys, running it right back. There we go. And you can see Wafo-Tapa off to the races already, cycling away a hieroglyphic illumination, leading with a basic island. That's what this man loves to do. Chan, on the other hand, he's on mono black zombies. This deck's, it's really put up the numbers, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's kind of surprising to see that not a whole lot has changed in terms of the mono black zombie deck. Of course, Jerry Thompson winning the last Pro Tour with it. But, you know, a lot of the times, it just comes down to positioning. And currently, in a world where mono red is basically just kind of dominating standard, zombies matches up really, really well. Every time that I talk to somebody looking to play zombies, they tell me, well, yeah, I'm playing this because it beats Rami Net Red. And anybody who plays Rami Net Red goes, yeah, I really don't want to play against zombies.
So Jason Chan with the Diagraph Colossus here, but not an exciting card at the moment, but all the same, Wafo-Tapa's not having anything to do with it. Essence Scatter taking that right out of contention. He's hitting his land drops, Paul, so he's pretty happy about his spot here, but Jason Chan, he needs to get on the board.
Yeah, he's definitely on the driver's seat, and Jason really didn't have a play in the first couple of turns. That's really how you're looking to try to go under the blue-red control deck, because once the blue-red control deck gets untapped with 3 mana, they have access to a ton of counter magic. You know, it does unlock your disallows and what have you. The thing with Wafo-Tapa, you know, most blue-red control decks have been playing Sweltering Suns as their sweeper of choice, and Wafo-Tapa is actually opting to go for Kozilek's Return, and I think that's, again, a response to kind of the expectation that you're going to see a lot of mono-red aggro.
We're going to get a Diagraph Colossus up in the business now with Jason Chan managing to stick that one. Wafo-Tapa drawing a couple of cards with his second hieroglyphic illumination, the first one being cycled away. And you can see his hand, he's got a little bit going on, but he's going to look for a little bit more gasoline here, I think.
Yeah, he absolutely needs to get that Diagraph Colossus off the board. And Wafo is currently a little bit exposed here. So Jason Chan is now about to hit his 5th land drop. If he plays a Liliana's Mastery, you know, Wafo doesn't really have a great answer to it currently.
No, that's right. I mean, we're looking at Wafo-Tapa's hand, so obviously we've got the soul read on this Frenchman here. But Jason Chan, I mean, he's got to have cards in mind. He's got to have Censor. He's got to have these other cards in his mind as he's moving forward here. But he's just going to go for it. Yep. Look at this. The big dog's been let off the leash, and Liliana's Mastery come down, unafraid, undaunted by the prospect of being force-spiked, and it's going to resolve. So Wafo-Tapa has his work cut out for him here.
Yeah, he definitely needs to find an answer to this, and this is the matchup where, you know, not playing Sweltering Suns and playing Kozilek's Return can really punish you, because there are multiple Anthem effects. You have Liliana's Mastery, you have Accursed Centaur, not Accursed Centaur,
Lord of the Accursed.
Lord of the Accursed, and both of those cards do dodge the Kozilek's Return.
A Braid's going to be good to take out one of these zombies, but that's not going to get the job done for Wafo-Tapa. He's really going to have to find something special here. And pull from tomorrow might be the card that gets him across the line.
Absolutely, he's going to get to draw. He's going to get to refill here, draw 4 cards, and you know, hopefully that'll net him some answers here, because Jason is currently slightly ahead. Because right now, Wafo, not a lot of answers in his hand.
So look at this, the big 3/3 is coming in to crack some skulls. And now we're going to see what Wafo-Tapa's response to this is. We've mentioned already, Cheon here, his hand is not that stacked.
Right. But given that Wafo is currently at on 20 life, I imagine he's likely just going to take the hit from the zombies here and probably just look to refill his hand. And, again, he has a lot of ways to kind of come back. Torrential Gearhulk, of course, is a great draw. And he's even playing kind of a spicy one.
Yeah, we've had a look at this, and we'll have to touch upon this in just a second as we see Chan getting in with Zombie 1 and 2 Thunder and Lightning coming across, and the post-combat Lord of the Accursed.
That is that's very interesting there. Yeah.
Well, okay, that's the way the Chan's chosen to play it. Obviously, he's got some kind of plan there, but let's come back to what you wanted to talk about. I tell you what, spiciest of pepperoni you can find in his list here. Playing 0 lands that produce black mana outside of Aether Hub. He is playing Nicol Bolas, the God Pharaoh.
Yeah, Nicol Bolas, God Pharaoh, with only 4 Aether Hubs to actually cast. And I kind of understand it because the thing with the blue-red control deck is you really cannot afford to miss a beat. You really cannot afford to have your lands come into play tapped. So it's really hard to actually just try to fit lands that tap for black mana. But he figures, look, I'm playing 4 Glimmer of Genius, 4 Hieroglyphic Illumination, 2 copies of Pull from Tomorrow. I'm eventually going to find this Aether Hub and have access to black mana.
And you can see here that he's having no issues with that as we see Pull from Tomorrow come down as well. And a match update from our back tables, Paul Cheon. PV has gone down to Sam Pardee, which is obviously he's on shaky ground if he's wanting to maintain this incredible run he's had so far. See if he manages to pull through. But well done to Sam Pardee. A couple of other results coming on the back tables, and as soon as we get them, we'll transfer them onto you as well. Revered listener around the world, certainly is a pleasure to have you on our stream here. Thanks for choosing to join us this weekend. And in fact, we do have another result. Namsung Wook has gone down to Potso on the back tables there. So the Korean, unfortunately for him, he's eaten it to Sebastian Potso. We'll keep an eye on that. And Thiago Saporito has got up in his first game as well. So we'll see how things continue on those back tables moving forward. Things progressing a little slower here, Paul Cheon.
Well, Wafo's got a ton of answers in his hand currently. His hand is pretty stacked. He's got the Gearhulk, a couple of copies of Abrade, and a Disallow. He is kind of in an awkward situation, though. Abrade, generally pretty good at dealing with most of the zombies, but because Jason Chen has both the Lord of the Accursed and the Liliana's Mastery, his zombies are 4/4s. They have 4 toughness.
They're big boys. That's right. These guys, and this is what you were talking about before, Paul. I want to come back to this. The choice of Sweeper, especially coming from the red deck, Sweltering Suns, a little harder to cast. Kozilek's Return, the advantage of being instant speed, and maybe we'll touch upon this as we get through this combat here, because now Chan's ready to get in there. He's getting stuck in a major way. And
wow, I actually like what Chan opted to do here. So what he did was he attacked with 2 of the zombies, being mindful of the fact that Guillaume Wafo-Tapa has 6 untapped mana. He's playing around Torrential Gearhulk by giving his zombies menace. Yeah. I think more inexperienced players would have just attacked with all of the zombies there. So really like what he's doing here, and he's getting in for 8 points of damage.
That's huge, because here, obviously, Wafo-Tapa could slam down the Gearhulk, get the big eat-em-ups happening as well, draw a couple of cards, but Chan is playing masterfully here.
Right.
This is a guy who knows his way around a deck of cards.
Yeah. He's had a lot of success playing with cards. Now, Wafo-Tapa does have a pretty reasonable turn here. I think his main plan here is to go end of turn, Torrential Gearhulk, use the Harness Lightning. He still has 2 energy floating to get rid of that Lord of the Accursed, which makes those zombies much more manageable, and he can actually use his Abrades to deal with the zombies on the battlefield.
The thing is, with Abrade, I mean, you're not wanting to... I mean, he's trading an Abrade for not even half a card, really, when he blows up one of these zombies, Paul. And, I mean, how much of a cost is he paying by not playing Sweltering Suns in this position?
Yeah, it's definitely a big cost. There are often times Kozilek's Return will be good, but when the Liliana's Mastery actually enters the battlefield, it is kind of an embarrassing card. Yeah. It really doesn't do a whole lot. But because Wafo-Tapa is very far ahead on cards, this is pretty close. He can answer both of those zombies, and he is out of card draw effects. But yeah, again, that Kozilek's Return not really going to do a whole lot here.
No, this is the position that Wafo-Tapa's found himself in. I mean, if there's a man for the job, if there's a fella who can dig his way up out of the hole he's in at the moment, I'm not exactly sure on the physics of that, but we'll continue to see how this progresses here. Wafo-Tapa's hand, as you said, he's got a lot of interaction. He's got a Disallow to keep a lid on things as well. But it's a closer one.
Yeah, and let's take a look at Jason Chan's hand here. Now, I was going to say, this is actually going to be kind of tricky, maybe kind of difficult for him to make an attack here into the Torrential Gearhulk, unless he has a Grasp of Darkness. And, well, he's got a Grasp of Darkness. But he also drew a Lord of the Accursed this turn.
Just off the top.
Right.
Fresh out the kitchen for Jason Chan, and that card is key. We saw Wafo-Tapa prioritizing removing that Lord beforehand, and now he's got another one to go toe-to-toe with.
Yeah, and Wafo-Tapa looking at his options as well. He's got a disallow, 2 Abrades, and a Kozilek's Return. I imagine he has to use the disallow here because once that Lord of the Accursed resolves, those Abrades aren't really going to kill anything.
Yeah, this is very true. So this is about Wafo-Tapa keeping as many cards as possible online in his hand.
Yeah. I really don't think he can afford to not disallow.
Snaps it off. There we go. And so no more Lord of the Accursed for Jason Chan.
But now that Jason Chan has gotten the disallow out of Wafo-Tapa's hand, he's far less likely to have another counterspell here. Just, you know, kind of based on like how long he took. He could have also just been feigning that, you know, he could have had 2 disallows and just kind of tanked long and hard to just like make it seem like he doesn't have one. But you know, if I'm on Jason Chan's side, Wafo-Tapa is looking at a whole bunch of cards in hand. I'm just attacking with everything and just looking to use this Grasp of Darkness on the Torrential Gearhulk.
So a bit of a Blocksky here from Wafo-Tapa, and then a Braid targeting one of these zombies here. We're going to really see a response from Chan. He's got the Grasp of Darkness in hand.
Right, but this is going to actually work out beautifully for Wafo-Tapa as he has another copy of a Braid. Jason Chan using the Grasp of Darkness to try to make a zombie attack through the Gearhulk, but
says Wafo-Tapa, put this in your pipe and smoke it, my friend, because his Torrential Gearhulk is going to live to see another day, and that's key.
Right. And so now Wafo-Tapa does have the advantage here. He's got multiple copies of Wandering Fumarole to block the Dread Wanderer, and he can now start getting in with the Torrential Gearhulk if he wanted to.
And you just sort of look at this position, you see like a guy on 3, a guy on 20, you know, we've got a board situation that's not fully resolved, and you sort of think, how is he going to pull himself out of this? But this is what the blue-red control, this is what control decks throughout Magic are trying to do. Their life total is a resource. It doesn't matter if they're on 20, on 300, or 3 life, as long as they're still alive and kicking.
Absolutely. I mean, Jason Chan is on a 4-turn clock here. Torrential Gearhulk, that's the thing. A lot of control decks play these kind of super slow, dirtily win conditions, but Torrential Gearhulk allows you to turn the corner very quickly.
Kozilek's Return in hand for Wafo-Tapa, in addition to an Essence Scatter. That's going to keep the board nice and empty. But this Wandering Fumarole, this is another key element to the control deck that we haven't really touched upon. Such a crucial element of any control deck to be able to sneak in win conditions hidden amongst the cards.
Absolutely, Wandering Fumarole, an excellent mana sink in the late game. And wow, Jason Chan utilizing a new addition that many people are playing into the zombie deck, If Near Deadlands. Using the If Near Deadlands to put 2 -1/-1 counters post-combat on a Wandering Fumarole.
Already 2 damage marked on it thanks to our old mate, the Dread Wanderer there. So that's going to take care of the Fumarole.
Yeah.
And he hits the bin. But I think I can see another one squirreled away there in Wafo-Tapa's lands.
Yeah. I think the way that Jason Chan kind of, you know, wins this game is because Wafo-Tapa has an Essence Scatter in hand. He really wants to find a Liliana's Mastery. Wafo-Tapa actually does not have a counterspell for Liliana's Mastery. Dark Salvation would also get the job done.
Crypt Breaker comes down, but we immediately see a hieroglyphic illumination. So Wafo-Tapa sort of disguising the fact that he's got the answer already in hand.
Nothing feels better than chaining your card draw effects. And trust me, I know.
You're all about it. You're all about it, Mr. Cheon. That's right. So,
all right. Well, you know how we talked about like 1 Kozilek's Return not getting the job done? Well, 2 actually does something. He's found a second copy of Kozilek's Return, and there he is.
There is the big
the Bolas father.
That's right. The God Pharaoh has entered Wafo-Tapa's hand. We'll see how Wafo-Tapa is going to leverage this mighty Planeswalker. And as we said, just the one-ski, just the little fun of there at the top of Wafo-Tapa's curve, and only castable off those Ether Hubs, Paul.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, you're looking at, if you just casually kind of look at this board, say you're like, oh, Wafo-Tapa is a 3. You know, he's the one behind, right? Currently, I think he's massively ahead. He has the Sweeper, he has the Kozilek's Return, which actually deal with both the he can sweep the Crypt Breaker and the Dread Wanderer off the board. Of course, Jason can get that Dread Wanderer back, but that allows him to also continue to attack in with the Torrential Gearhulk. Then that also clears the way for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa to play Nicol Bolas.
Nicol Bolas, that's right. We'll see if he makes an entry this time. I mean, you know, Jason Chan does have the recursion, does have, you know, an Anthem effect. He is drawing live off the top of his library here as we see Kozilek's Return clean up the battlefield a little bit as the Gearhulk kicks in. But you have to say, pure card quality, power level, Wafo-Tapa's way ahead.
Oh, yeah. And even more importantly than the Nicol Bolas Godfather, Guillaume Wafo-Tapa found a disallow. So now Jason Chan doesn't actually have the out of drawing either a Dark Salvation or a Liliana's Mastery to try to come back from this game.
Oh, and you just feel so safe. As a control player, sitting behind like 3 million counters.
Oh, there it is.
So safe. And boom, Here we go. So let's. Oh, and look at that. We're not even going to see it.
He's like, I am off this game. I'm sorry.
Jason Chan's like, no. That's just too much. Can't overcome that. So Wafo-Tapa, he got his snoot out a long way in front there after weathering the early storm, and he's done very well for himself to snag a win. Guys, we've got to go to a break, but stick around because on the other side of this, we've got all sorts of standard coming your way from Kyoto, Japan. We are here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation, and we'll see you very soon.
Unleash your endgame next weekend. Bring your best standard deck to become the Hour of Devastation Game Day champion of your game store. Top finishers are awarded full art premium promo cards and an exclusive Game Day champion playmat for the winner. Find a game day near you at magic.wizards.com/gameday.
The Magic the Gathering World Championship features 24 players, 2 teams, and 3 days of the best Magic this year as they compete for over $350,000, with the winner getting a cool $100 grand and the title of World Champion. Tune in October 6th through 8th to twitch.tv/magic to see it all unfold.
Welcome back to coverage of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. What a pleasure it is to have you with us here in the booth. My name's Riley. I'm joined by Paul Cheon, and right now we're going to check in with one of our side matches here. We've got Polovita Damadorosa facing off against Samuel Pardee. These guys you can see they're getting ready to get underway in game number 3 here. Cheon, you would be in a position to talk about this sort of thing. Polovita Damadorosa, he's undefeated so far. How does that affect the psychology of the Magic player moving forward into the later stages of the tournament?
Well, I think for the average Magic player, you know, at this point, you're like, okay, let's just get there. A couple more matches. We're going to lock up the top 8. But for somebody like Polovita Damadorosa with, 11 top 8s, 12, something along those lines, you know, he's got to be cool as a cucumber. You know, obviously, there's still some of that stress, like, man, I really don't want to screw this all up. But, you know, Paul has been here so many times, and he's converted on so many occasions. I think for him, it's just another regular day at the office.
Just another day at the office
that's
for him.
it.
There you go. He's popped the tie and the suitcase on, and he's headed off to work.
He's just playing Magic.
He's just absolutely smashing it. And I have to say, like, my experience with him down in the feature match area, he is just cool, calm, collected. Cool as a cucumber, as you said, this guy. And he's ready to get up on the 1s and 2s and crack some skulls, as I said. But, I mean, Pardee is obviously ready to make him work for it because these guys are at 1-1. This is the decider here.
Yeah, and these are teammates. They actually do test together, team face-to-face and team Channel Fireball Ice. Sam Pardee kind of going with his tried and true. He's had a lot of success playing black-green decks in the past, and that's kind of his weapon of choice for this tournament as well. And I think generally the black-green deck is slightly favored in this matchup as its creatures are just generally bigger. Walking Ballista is also a pretty big game against all the 1 toughness creatures that the mono-red deck has.
We haven't seen the Winding Constrictor, the old snaky getting up and about too much this tournament, but I think just the baseline power level of the black-green deck. I mean, we've had some ups and downs. There's been smiles and frowns for this deck, but obviously it's still there. This pile of cards is still getting it done.
Yeah. And oftentimes, you know, when you saw the Winding Constrictor deck, you're like, oh, this just kind of builds itself, and it's a really powerful shell. Turn 2 Winding Constrictor, turn 3 Rishkar. That you've just put 7 power on the board on turn 3.
Yeah.
So that's just such an incredible combination. And, you know, the Sam's utilized that to go 9-1 this tournament so far.
That's right. It can just be bananas here, and Pardee's done very well. I mean, he's sitting pretty as well, as you said. He's up at the top of the tables as well. And these guys, any way you slice it, regardless of how this game resolves itself, we're going to be in a good, both of these guys are going to be in a good spot to make a deep run late into the tournament here. Although the Brazilian now, he's going down to 6. He's not happy with his opening hand.
Right.
Party having a think about things.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what sideboard plan Paulo came up with in this matchup. Again, oftentimes your cheap creatures are kind of brick-walled by the Winding Constrictors and all the big cards. So, you know, there are a lot of good sideboard options. Many of these red decks choose to go a little bigger, and often they play multiple lands in their sideboard so they can start playing cards like Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and Glorybringer.
Both of those cards are appearing in Dama de Rosa's sideboard here as I cast my eyes over it. In addition to some interesting stuff like Ethersphere Harvester, obviously looking to shore up that red matchup.
Right.
I think this is something that people are just going to need to keep in mind moving forward this tournament. The mono red deck has been up and about in a major way, and you got to be prepared for it, Paul.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Mono red currently seems like it's kind of the deck to beat, but just kind of traditionally that is what happens early on in a format. People just play the really aggressive deck, and then oftentimes there are just a lot of good answers, and people eventually figure out how to play against the mono red deck. So, you know, having mono red be the best deck in the format isn't really a bad thing, I don't think.
So bringing you the very best in mulligans and shuffles right now. Unfortunately, our players aren't quite set and ready to go. Looks like Paul Avita Dama de Rosa has kept the 6 that he's looking at here, but he's having a good old think about the scry. Do you want to head to the first table? We might check in with our... we might go back to our first table as we have both of these players off to the races. We'll be back with PV and Samuel Pardee before much longer. We'll keep you updated as to what's going on there. But might be back to table number 1 now to see how things shake out between Chan and Wafo-Tapa here. You can see our feature match area there with the players assembled and ready to go. And let's get back to it with our good friend Jason Chan, the streamer, versus Wafo-Tapa, who of course has made a name for himself as the one of the premier control players. Just always very consistent, always looking to play these slower decks here. And he's got his work cut out from here. Dread Wanderer, turn number 1.
And Jason Chan has to be feeling a lot better about his matchup post-board because he gets the side out. There's basically unplayable Fatal Pushes and Grasp of Darknesses. You know, that's kind of one of the main strengths of the blue-red control deck is that, you know, it's kind of removal-proof. And he gets to replace those with, you know, high-impact sideboard cards. He's got multiple copies of Transgress in mind. He has Liliana the Last Hope, which generally blue-red has... any Planeswalker, blue-red has a really difficult time dealing with, and he might even consider bringing in Dispossess to get the Torrential Gearhulks out of Guillaume Wafo-Tapa's deck. But if you look at Guillaume Wafo-Tapa's hand, he's got some answers if somebody brings in a Dispossess. If you look, that's the Locust God.
Yeah, he's got he's really diversified his threat portfolio here because this Godski's going to get up and about, and really again, you know, against facing off cards like Dispossess, facing off cards like Transgress the Mind, where they're going to be attacking your hand rather than the battlefield. You need to have a critical density of threats.
Absolutely. So. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa going up the curve here, adding another powerful effect there. And he even has more sweepers. Again, we talked about how, you know, sometimes Kozilek's Return doesn't get the work done if there are sweepers. If there are Anthem effects. He is also playing 2 copies of Hour of Devastation in his sideboard, which I can't imagine he won't bring in this matchup.
Absolutely, so key. And, of course, against other cards, like you mentioned, such as Liliana the Last Hope, blue-red often cold to these cards, and Hour of Devastation gives them a nice little bump there.
Oh, and interesting, Jason Chen actually opted to keep in Grasp of Darkness here.
It is one of the ways to interact with some of the huge threats that Wafo-Tapa is going to bring to bear here. We see Chan's mana base right now. He's got a second swamp, so he's not going too badly as Crypt Breaker has come down. Discarding Grasp of Darkness to make a zombie there, as we see Crypt Breaker number 2 coming down here.
Wafo-Tapa's got to be thrilled that that's what Jason Chan's opting to go for. He's holding a Kozilek's Return in his hand. You know, Jason's going to draw a card here, but Wafo's going to have the opportunity to clear the board here and then untap and place 4th land and pass the turn.
Yeah, and he's got Hieroglyphic Illumination. He's got Glimmer of Genius. He's ready to keep that gas tank nice and full here. Wafo-Tapa snaps off this Kozilek's Return.
There you go.
Paul Cheon, the power of the instant speed sweeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Kozilek's Return. And again, you know, mostly in there for the mono-red matchup, but definitely doing a lot of work here as well.
Jason Chan, just a straight-up 3-for-1 there, although he did draw a card off the Crypt Breaker, so maybe it's not quite as sweet as that. 3 mana now, and it's going to be Liliana. Nice call.
Yeah, we got the Liliana here, and Wafo-Tapa currently doesn't have an answer to it, so he's going to have to let it resolve and just fire off a Glimmer of Genius here and try to either find some answers or also lands.
You see the Censor sitting in Wafo-Tapa's hand. He's going to be able to dig for more lands with that Glimmer of Genius, but that Censor looking a trifle embarrassing right now. We see the stock of this card really fall off in the late game as a counterspell, but obviously cycling just puts it right back over the top.
Yeah, and Jason Chen now kind of contemplating what he wants to do with the Liliana. Oftentimes, you just want to get value right away and kind of return a creature from your graveyard. For example, getting back a Crypt Breaker here would be fine. His Liliana really isn't in any danger, but it looks like he's opting to tick it up. And it's a little bit dangerous to try to just go for like a Liliana emblem, mostly because Guillaume Wafo-Tapa is playing 4 copies of Disallow in his deck. You can just counter the emblem effect.
That is another really important piece of interaction that that the blue-red control deck does have. As we said, pressured heavily by cheap planeswalkers that can sometimes come in under the counterspells. Wafo-Tapa's got a land and a Harness Lightning on top. One's going below decks and one's staying on top. Draws the island and a fresh card, also island. He'll be happy with that.
Yeah, and Waffle's got to be pretty happy. Jason Chen actually didn't follow. Ooh, there we go.
Disallow off the top. That's a little bit of life insurance here for Liliana,
right?
Because Wafo-Tapa now can just breathe out a little bit.
Right, and what's Jason Chan's game plan here? You know, if he was kind of committed to ticking up the Liliana, is that what he's going for? Is he going for the emblem, or is he going to opt to get back the Crypt Breaker? Because if that was the case, I would have probably considered doing that the turn prior and getting that Crypt Breaker online as quickly as possible.
Having a squiz at Chan's hand here, Liliana, Dark Salvation, Grasp of Darkness.
Wow.
None of these cards particularly.
Oh, double Gear Hulk.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and Wafo-Tapa is firmly in the driver's seat now.
The hits do not stop for Wafo-Tapa as the top of his library continues to treat him very kindly here.
Yeah. Multiple counterspells, multiple Gear Hulks. He has the Disallow for the Liliana emblem. It's going to be really hard for Jason Chen to come back. I just don't think it's possible.
We're seeing the blue-red control deck fire on all cylinders. Sometimes they've got, an absolutely stacked hand but no lands. Sometimes they're flooding out, whatever else. This is the perfect balance. Wafo-Tapa's not under too much pressure. He has the answer to the Liliana, assuming that, he's able to leverage that correctly, assuming he doesn't, his brain doesn't melt while he's playing here. And Jason Chen, he's really he's going to have a hard time finding his way through this.
He is all in. He is all in on the Liliana emblem here. Ooh, but he gets to get a little utility there.
Tiny bit of value.
Wafo-Tapa has plenty of cards in his hand. It's not really that bad for him. But he did utilize his Scavenger Grounds to exile Guillaume Wafo-Tapa's graveyard to make it so he cannot cast his Glimmer of Genius.
So a little bit of tech there. Obviously, we see Scavenger Grounds, a huge hedge for many of the players against the Godfarer's gift decks, which we didn't really see eventuate, Paul Cheon.
Right.
Another match update from the back tables. The man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, John Finkel, has got up and beaten Thiago Saporito in his first game of first match of Constructed on day 2. He'll be happy with that, unsurprisingly.
It's just not fair. It's just not fair. John Finkel, Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa. Let some of the other guys win.
Yeah.
They just keep winning.
They just keep winning. Yep, they're like T-Pain. All they do is win, 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 baby, win. That's it.
Yeah.
And right now, Jason Chen is not in a position to follow suit here. And another match update from the back tables. And Paul Cheon, I hope we're not going to dislike the taste of our own words here, because unfortunately for PV's unbeaten run here, it's come to an end. Samuel Pardi's got up and beaten the Brazilian. The Hall of Famer has gone down to Party. So certainly party time on the back tables there, but he's still in a great spot hunting for that top 8 slot here.
Both players sitting at X and 1 with 4 rounds to go. And, generally X3 and 1 will make it. So still having to feel pretty good about that. And, it's a very good chance that both of those players make top 8.
Interesting. We see a rematch on Sunday between these two. Bit of the old grudge match.
This is really nice too. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa using the cycling ability of the Illumination, despite the fact that he has a ton of mana, so that he could actually also play a Gear Hulk and draw 2 cards.
He's just getting it done here. This is a masterclass from Wafo-Tapa, and this is the sort of stuff you expect from the Frenchman. This is just really exactly how a control deck wants to play out its match here. And we've already talked about the fact that Wafo-Tapa really has stamped his authority on this game, on this match. And unfortunately for Jason Chen, the light is really, there's not much light at the end of the tunnel.
He's got so many cards in his hand. How can you ever lose?
Yeah, he's got 5 or 6 million cards in hand. We can see the Gear Hulks are getting in to tussle him up a little bit. They're getting nice and frisky, these boys here.
Yeah, and look at his hand. He's just pretty much has all of his bases covered here. Unless Jason has some kind of uncounterable zombie.
Yes, exactly. That's going to come down off the double splash. We'll see. But no, unfortunately for our streamer here, Jason Chan certainly with his back against the wall, Wafo-Tapa continues to hit his land drops, and as a control player, that's just all you're wanting to be doing here. We see the Locust goes just sitting here. He doesn't need it.
Yeah. He's just like he just wants to leave up mana. He has a ton of counter spells up and more card draw effects. He does have a Glimmer of Genius as well, so he just wants to sit back on his counter spells in case Jason does happen to have some crazy sequence of cards that allows him to kind of sneak in a big threat.
Well, the sequence of cards in Chan's hand at the moment, we see Double Grasp of Darkness and a Liliana the Last Hope here. So not the premier anti-control cards. And Liliana at this late stage, Paul Cheon, it's not going to be the impactful Planeswalker that Chan is wanting it to be. And you see Wafo-Tapa, he don't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
He's got a counter magic, but he's like, you know what? I don't even need it.
I can beat this card, he says.
Right. So Jason Chan opted to use the minus ability on the Liliana.
And there was the big whiskey.
And he totally missed, partially because he used the Scavenger Grounds to exile the graveyard, which exiles all graveyards.
Just absolute daggers here for Chan. He wasn't able to get any value off of that, so he's just brought Liliana in, milled 2 and taken off 2 loyalty. Unfortunately, that value train did not leave the station here for Chan.
Yeah, and just... Well, once you get the Glimmer of Genius train going, he's chaining these card draw effects together. He's going to draw Hieroglyphic Illumination, draw even more cards, or another Glimmer of Genius. Why not?
This is it. Just chaining, as you mentioned, Paul Cheon. He's just chaining draw spells into draw spells, and we're talking about trains leaving the station. This one is certainly full steam ahead.
Oh, and he cycled into Kozilek's Return.
This guy. Oh, and he's going to do it at the end. So he didn't even have these cards in his hand at the beginning of this.
He's going to do it now. Jason Chan now has the opportunity to use Grasp of Darkness to kill Torrential Gearhulk if he wanted to there.
But he didn't pounce at this opportunity.
Right.
He is going to take a bit of a licking here from these 2 Gearhulks. Wafo-Tapa sitting with an Hour of Devastation in hand, in addition to about 400 million counter spells. I think he's still got card draw engines. He's still got the Torrential Gearhulks.
Does he need to discard?
Guillaume Wafo-Tapa's snoot is so far ahead here. If we could whack that advantage bar out to the left, or even further to the right of the screen, you need a second monitor, ladies and gentlemen. To get all the way
I'm
there.
maxed out on the advantage bar.
We're just
I can't.
bashing this button here. Crypt Breaker comes down for Jason Chan.
He's like, you know what? I'm just going to use his counterspell.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why he's using that is because he has multiple counters to back that up. And he wants to cast Glimmer of Genius and draw more cards because his name is, of course, Guillaume Wafo-Tapa.
And an extension of the hand from Jason Chan, a masterclass in control from the Frenchman here. And look at that. He is overjoyed. He can scarcely contain his excitement. A very reserved and composed individual indeed. And hearty congratulations to him because he's absolutely crushed it. Unfortunately, Jason Chan, who, again, came to Pro Tour Hour of Devastation on a special invite. He's done really well. He's made an... I mean, you know, we're not taking anything away from him here because he has really... He's gone toe-to-toe with the big boys in this game and he's come off... He's excelled himself.
Yeah, he practiced a ton in draft. And even gave, took a picture of his limited record on Magic Online. And he was in the 1950s. And you can't hit 1950 limited without being an excellent drafter.
Yeah, this guy really got it done. And of course, congratulations to him to making it all the way to day 2. I mean, that is no small feat, especially for someone coming fresh off their first Pro Tour. But of course, as we've already said, he knows his way around constructing decks of cards, and he's done an exceptionally good job. But Wafo-Tapa, I mean, what a game from him. I mean, Paul, what really stood out to me about that match and what I really enjoyed about it is, we did kind of see the dream scenario for the control deck there. I mean, talk us through this. Wafo-Tapa's, he's got to be so happy about how that second game panned out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Whenever you win with the control deck, it's when like all your spells just kind of sequence itself perfectly. You hit all your land drops, and you get to kind of you're able to deal with all of your opponent's threats. But kind of the biggest weakness of the control deck is something slips through the cracks. Something resolves. A turn 3 Liliana, for example, resolves, and it takes over the game. That's where kind of the blue-red control deck kind of is exposed. And another one of the biggest weaknesses to the deck is, of course, the emergence of the Ramunap Red aggro deck. It's it doesn't really have a great game against dealing with that desert.
Yeah.
As the red deck's inevitably just going to get you down to 6, 4, 8 life, and then you're just going to use the deserts, and it doesn't really have enough of a clock to really kind of turn it around.
That's right. And we'll see how fortune favors our control decks moving forward as we get into the final stages of our Pro Tour Hour of Devastation here. Certainly been a great pleasure to have your company, and don't go anywhere, my friends, because on the other side of this, more coverage coming your way from Kyoto, Japan. It's been a great pleasure to have your company for this round. Stick around, and we'll see you back at the news desk in just a few moments.
Welcome back to the news desk. Maria Barthaldi here, and we've got a player at the top of the leaderboard, Sam Pardee, down on the floor with our very own Brian David Marshall.
Thanks, Maria. I'm here with Sam Pardee, who is off to the best start of his career at a Pro Tour, even though we have a top 8 that you need to top here.
Yeah, I still need probably one more win to make top 8 and lock up Worlds, so that's the goal.
Now, lots of boxes getting ticked along the way. You said that this win clinches a nice little tier in the Players Club for you.
Yeah, I just locked Platinum, so I'll have it minimum 53 pro points, and that'll be good enough for Platinum.
So now let me talk to you about your deck choice for this weekend. You know, we've seen, no secrets here, a lot of red. Yep. Now, this was not a deck you guys missed coming into the event by any stretch of the imagination, right?
No, not at all. I tested with Paulo, who I just played against him. He's playing mono red. I just love Grimflayer. I think mono red might be a better Magic deck. Green-black is structurally advantaged. You have, like, Walking Ballista is really good. You have a lot of 2-drops. You have a lot of ways to get ahead in that matchup. Liliana's great. I just love Grimflayer. What can I say?
Now, obviously, the matchup is a big part of why you played it. Do you think as we get down the stretch of the standard rounds here, we're going to see red maybe running into a little more resistance than it found on day one in a more diverse field?
We'll see. I mean, I think I'm favored against mono red. I don't think it's by that much. Their sideboard is so effective because they go into this sort of big red, Chandra, Glorybringer. Those cards are all really good against me. So even though I think I'm a big favorite game one, I think the postboard games are pretty tough, and I think that might be true for a lot of the anti-red decks in the field.
Okay, so it's going to be red versus anti-red down the stretch here. Meanwhile, Sam, he's trying to get another win or two under his belt and lock up the second Pro Tour top 8 of his career.
Great stuff. That is awesome stuff. Now, a blizzard of results coming in because we're down to the home stretch. 5 rounds of standard. That means that all the big races are getting sorted out. Standard Master, we're probably 3 or 4 rounds away from knowing the outcome of that. Player of the Year. Huge news. I was chatting with Marcio Carvalho, who of course leads by a substantial margin. He is now at 6-6. So not only is he not making top 8, the absolute best he can do is 6 points for 10-6. Now the way he works it out, this is his own math. We didn't even do it. He just went, let me tell you what happens. If he can get to 9-7, that's his 1 extra point for the 9-7, or 10-6, which would be 3 extra points, 6 points overall. Neither of those make any difference. If he can get to 9-7 or 10-6, Palavita Dama de Rosa, who's just lost, remember, will have to win this Pro Tour to be crowned Player of the Year on the last turn of the last match. We quite like things like that. Now, if he doesn't make it as far as 9-7, just gets the minimum 3 points, 8-8 or worse, at that point, Paolo can make the final, doesn't have to win it. So right now we're down to 2 players for Player of the Year. Marcio Carvalho on 6-6, trying to go 3-1 to make it harder. Paolo Vida Dama de Rosa having to get into the top 8, getting to at least the final, maybe the final. We've got a ton of results to bring you. We'll do all that once we've gone to Deck Tech land, because we know there are so many sweet decks in Standard right now, and Mark Tobias is waiting across at the video wall to walk us through his 75 cards.